Hello, hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, do my very best to answer your yarny questions. If you're like, hey, where are these questions coming from? I'd love for them to be coming from you specifically. There is a link in the show notes below here on YouTube for you to fill out a Google form. Oh my gosh, I panicked there for a minute. I was like, did I get my coffee? I got my coffee, it's fine. Anyways, there's a link to a Google form. It's so simple. It literally just says, what do you want to know? And so you just click on there, you type in your question. It's all anonymous. I don't know who's asking what questions. And then I can put them in a spreadsheet, like it puts them in a spreadsheet for me, and then I can keep track of, sorry, lots of adjusting going on here, I apologize. Then I can keep track of which questions I've answered and which I haven't. So that's important to me and very helpful. If you don't know me, I really like to be an organized person. Sometimes I'm more successful than other times, but I do attempt it. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here, whether it's your very first time or your 20th time. Today is episode 20. I am going to be wearing my Zoe Shawl today. It is cool in the mornings here, which is like bringing me so much joy. I've been opening up the house in the morning and then trying to put off closing it up for as long as possible. So in the morning, it's actually like okay and pleasant to wear a light shawl like a Zoe. So that's fun. We are to the point of the year where I am over it being hot and I'm ready for fall. I am so glad. I was just talking to my mother-in-law about this. I'm glad I live where I live. I lived in the desert for a while. I like my seasons. I like all my seasons. I don't know what it says about me that I'm the kind of person who really relishes the change in seasons. When we lived in the desert and there were really just like two seasons, the hot and the not quite as hot, I didn't love it. I just didn't. Anyways, so I'm wearing my Zoe shawl. Ooh, I wanted to show you, if you've been around here from the beginning, you know, a ways back, I said I think the Zoe shawl needed a more tame sibling. And I asked you to vote, and I hemmed and hawed, and I didn't get around to it. And then it dawned on me when I was slightly projectless, like kind of not projectless, I'm never projectless, but I finished up a couple things, and of course I reward myself by starting new projects. And I saw this yarn sitting on my shelf, all caked up, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the one I was going to use for another Zoe shawl. I don't know how well they match, but I really like that this one is neutral and kind of fallish, so it's going to like take me into fall, which I've already told you. I'm tired of summer and ready for fall. So the main body is going to be this gorgeous kind of mossy, olivey green. I don't know if you can see. There's like some little specks of rust, which is really fun. And you can see I've gotten so far. Not. I have a few rows done, but really this should fly off the hook if I would just focus on it. But I'm going to show you in a minute. I've been distracted by something else. And then I'm going to do the contrast edge in this like denim-y blue. So I feel like I'll be able to wear it with like everything because it'll be two neutrals. Colors I love. Yarn I already had. Mega bonus there. Yeah. I'm going to bring this back out when I share small businesses because this is a small business I love. But first, I'm going to talk to you about what is bringing me joy. Friends, it's been hot. It's finally cooling off in the mornings, but we're talking like we were not so much last week, but definitely the week before, in like the 90s in the afternoons. And the way that it's been working is it'll heat up and heat up and heat up, and then the clouds will happen. And sometimes it storms, sometimes it doesn't. But man, we have had some amazing clouds, and just the sky is empty now because, oh, not completely empty. Mostly empty now because it's morning. But as the day heats up, more floofy clouds will appear. And I'm going to put up some pictures because there have been some really gorgeous clouds. I just love looking at them. There have been some really unusual clouds, which was super cool. I shared one in my Instagram stories a while back that you might recognize, that I'll put up here. I've been looking up, I've been taking deep breaths, and really been awed by the clouds. I love them. The other thing that has been bringing me lots of joy, and I know I don't usually do two things, but I'm gonna do it this time because I want to. I have decided, I've been wanting for quite a while to play around with garment design, but I'm terrified of taking that and turning it into a pattern. And so I decided I'm just gonna like let that expectation go. And I have this yarn that I've had for probably a couple years that is just so much fun. And I was like, I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to try. I'm going to play. I'm going to see how it comes out. I'm going to frog back if I want to. The only pressure here is not to make it fit every size, but just to fit me and be something I will like and wear. I am currently at the crossroads of deciding, do I want a V-neck? I'm trying to be honest with myself because I was like, just keep it simple, Sarah. And now I'm like, yeah, but am I never going to wear it if it's a boat neck? Am I never going to wear it if it's a boat neck? My fear is that the answer to that is yes. I won't ever wear it if it's a boat neck. So I'm contemplating. But what I did was I swatched, which, yeah, pat myself on the back. I did a nice big swatch of the stitches I wanted to use. And then I decided all my measurements. And then I just started. And I went and went and went all weekend. And this is what I have so far. It's just a panel. But I'm to the point, I think, that if I wanted a V-neck, I should probably start V-necking. So my general idea, my first idea was just 2 square panels. I may still do a boat neck. I'm so on the fence, you guys. I was going to say, tell me what you think. I guess tell me what you think I should do for myself, because at this point I'm not making it into a pattern. So what you would wear most, no offense, doesn't really matter. But my plan was to make 2 panels and then do some short rows in the shoulders to kind of open up at the neckline and narrow down at the sleeves. Because when you do a big square like that, some of it ends up as sleeve when you are a larger chested person as myself. So I've just been having a lot of fun, just like no pressure. Just play. This yarn is not available anymore, I don't think. It was Lion Brand. It was interesting because it's supposed to be like their comfy cotton, but this is definitely like a light DK, and their comfy cotton is what I would call a heavy worsted. So it's definitely different, but I just love all the fun colors. It just makes me happy, all the brightness. So I'm just enjoying that. It's bringing me a lot of joy to just, no pressure, mess around with that and see what happens. So yeah, let's talk small businesses. I'm going to go back to this one because I already showed you. This, if you haven't seen my Meet the Maker with 5 to 6 designs, 100% blanking on her name. She's so lovely. I'm not going to try because I could say and then I'd be wrong, and then you'd get it stuck in your head and then you'd be wrong all the time too. I'm just not going to say. But she's wonderful. We chit-chatted a bit on Instagram. She makes these really amazing bags, and to be honest, I guess. Transparent, maybe that's the word I was looking for. She did gift me this bag, which was like so generous. And she takes a lot of custom orders, so she's been working a lot on custom orders and hasn't had a shop update in a while, which makes me a little sad because I want her to shop update so that I can actually purchase one of her bags because they're amazing. Super sturdy, really nice fabric, fully lined. There are pockets inside to keep all your stuff. There's a zipper pocket inside too. I will say that this zipper is it's very sturdy, but it's also a little rough. So I just have to be careful that I don't snag my yarn in there. But I haven't really had problems. I have been debating, like, could I like walk and crochet with that, or even walk in it. I don't know. Maybe. But I will link in the show notes, of course, to her Etsy shop. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. Little Etsy tip. Ooh, my foot fell asleep. Go to her Etsy shop if the shop is in vacation mode. You can say, email me when the shop comes back or something like that. And then Etsy will send you an email when she takes her shop out of vacation mode. The other thing to do is that I will link to the Meet the Maker words. And in the notes of the Meet the Maker is all of her social and everything. And I believe a direct link to sign up for her emails. Best way to keep in contact with any maker that you love is to sign up for their email list, including me, and my email list is below. So I'd love it if you'd sign up. But honestly, I've been having some issues, or knock on wood, I had some issues with my social media that kept me from chatting with people that I normally chatted with very regularly, and it kept me away, and it was quite frustrating. So best way, email lists. Okay, second thing, you guys, I hope this shows up okay. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm working on a shawl, and again, in full transparency, it is in conjunction with Blue Sky's maker program. This is Blue Sky yarn. I'm obsessed. I made the shawl in 5 colors. It's done. I'm not going to show you just yet, but if you're on my tester email list, I must send out a tester call soon. Maybe I'll take some pictures of it today and get it out soon. Real soon. I don't want to put pressure on myself. But I thought, you know what I need? The same shawl in a solid color. And so I asked for yarn and they said, sure. Let me tell you guys, I'm going to do a whole video. I'm putting it out there now. I'm going to do a whole video on Blue Sky yarns because I love them and I cannot count the ways on here. We'll be here all day. So this is their Woolstock Light. This is in the colorway Lilac Bloom. I've never seen a lilac bloom this color, but it's gorgeous. I don't know if you can see, it's got some real great depth of color, which I love about their Woolstock Light. I also used I believe it's called Deep Velvet. It's a really deep maroon in my original 5-color shawl, and I could use nothing but for the rest of my life because it has just the most gorgeous depth of color. It's amazing. All right. I talked last time about my art festival finds, and this is one of them. I'm very excited about this. Imaginative Leather Crafts was there, and they sell a whole bunch of things, but I love this bracelet. It's just like braided leather, which is fantastic. And while you were there, they had them arranged by size, like how many inches long they are. And so I got one that just fits around my wrist. And here's why. Because I can wear it as a bracelet, and then I can also use it as a shawl cuff. And I'm very excited about that. So, imaginative leather crafts. My mug today is my bee mug. I saw a giant bumblebee just relaxing on my coneflowers yesterday. It was so fun to watch it. I was going to say him, but I don't know if him. I know if it was a honeybee, it wouldn't be a him. But I don't know that much about bumblebees. I should learn more. Love this mug. It's so cute. I was a little like unsure about this handle. When I first got the mug, you can see it's kind of like big and wide. And if I show you on the side, it kind of curves a little bit. But actually, she knows what she's doing. This is the perfect way to hold this little mug. I love it. So speaking of, as I was a minute ago, craft show purchases. I told you before I got lots of earrings. This is by Maccabee Artistry. I got this when I went to the craft show. Was that close enough? I feel like no. There we go. That's better. I got these when I went to the craft show in Waukee, Iowa with my sister. I got a couple mugs there while I was there too, but we drove down and then I flew back, and I could not bring them in my suitcase because it was very full and I was worried they'd get broken. We're going back to Des Moines in a couple weeks, and so I will pick it up then, and then I can't wait to share. One is staying there for my dad to give me for Christmas. My sister and I both picked up mugs, and we were like, here you go, a Christmas gift for us, already done. and then I bought several pairs of earrings. So like I said, lots of earrings to share with you guys. But these are really pretty and fun. Polymer clay, so nice and lightweight. Black and white, I was like, can't go wrong with that, right? So very excited. All right, quick announcement. I shared this very first with my email subscribers last week. So if you're on my email list, this won't be a surprise. If you're not, surprise! Also, if you want to be the first to know most things, like email list is a great place to do that. Last year we did, I guess I should have gotten it down. It's like way up at the tippy top of my ladder here. Last year we did a mystery crochet along, and it was so much fun. Let me tell you how much I enjoy being the giver of the mystery more than the receiver of the mystery. So I did just buy some mystery skeins from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I really like to know what I'm getting myself into. So I felt so honored that so many of you put your trust in me last year, and it was just a blast. It was so fun to see everybody's different color combinations. We just had a really great time. So we're doing it again this year. I just picked my yarn and wound my colors, and now I'm looking, where the heck did I put those? It's a lot of balls of yarn, and now I'm like, they have to be so pretty obvious. I am going to start the design. Maybe they're in that bin there. I am going to start the design this week, maybe even today. I'm going to put aside my sweater that is giving me so much joy that I've decided that this is like my non-work project. So I got to do some work stuff during the day, and then I'll do that funness in the evenings and on the weekends. Anyways, so I got to get going on that. But just so you are aware, so your brain can start percolating, we're going to do the mystery cow, the details I have so far. As long as the design I have in my brain works, which I really hope it does because I really like it. It's going to be traditional crochet. Last year's was Tunisian crochet. This is going to be traditional crochet. We're going to do a couple stitches, but the main thing is it's going to be a really unique construction. And so we're going to learn some cool construction techniques and some cool finishing techniques. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be in the fall. Last year we did like October, November-ish, which seemed like perfect. I'm hoping for kind of a chill pace. I'm gonna kind of have to see that, like I said, I've picked my yarn and I've sketched my design. I haven't actually started it, so it's gonna partly be me seeing how long the pieces take to put together. And there will be an in-person class and there will be an online class available. So several people said last time, I wish I had known that the online class was coming. I would have saved up some money so I could be a part of it. It is coming. When I know the cost of it, I will let you know immediately. Like I said, the number of weeks it's going to last is going to depend on how quickly, the construction comes together. It is worsted weight, so hopefully a little faster than, you know, if we're doing like a fingering weight. It's going to be, like I said, if all goes well, it's going to be a blanket shawl or scarf. It's going to be big and long and like a big hug for you this winter. I'm very excited. Okay. Man, I've been talking for a while. I didn't even say all the things I considered saying. So, okay, but we're moving forward. Are you ready for questions? I'm sure you are. Okay, question number 1. We're going back to a question that I told you before I had several answers for. And so I'm going to read the question again, and I'm going to give you a different take on this same question. So I'm going to read the question. I've lost my Crojo, which is like crochet and mojo meshed together. I used to crochet to relax, but lately every project seems to be adding stress to my life or is unsatisfying. What are your tips for getting out of a slump? Okay, I've answered this twice before. One was more to a hobby maker. I wish I could remember what episode that was. I'll try to find it and I'll link it in the show notes. The other one was to everybody of every cro-joing type, whether you're a hobby maker or a professional maker. I had a bit more of a serious but important take on that. And today I'm going to talk to designers. Okay, if you are not a designer, don't run away. Don't run away. A, I think this will be interesting to give you like a little insight into designing, and B, I don't think these are like exclusive to designers. So, but just know that that's kind of the angle I'm coming at this from. So, one thing you can do if you are in a slump and you are a designer is browse the trends, and not crochet trends necessarily. Look at seasonal trends on like fashion websites. I think sometimes it's a lot of fun to go look at the really high fashion stuff, because to me, like, it's kind of ridiculous and who actually wears that stuff. Not me. So look at the fashion trends, and like I said, not even like crochet trends or knitting trends, just like seasonal trends, or like that can be done on a computer or a phone or Pinterest, but also it can be done by going to your favorite stores. I am often inspired by something I see at one of my favorite places to shop, whether it's a texture or a fabric or a construction of a collar or a color. All of those can be inspiring. However, I want to caveat that with my strong feeling that we don't just directly copy people. It's maybe one thing if you're like see like a jacket design at a store and you're like, I want to turn that into crochet, but it's not crochet. You know what I mean? So like taking those design elements and turning them into crochet, that's maybe one thing. Or like seeing a bag shape that's really cool and it's like, you know, pleather or leather in the store and you change it to crochet, that's a bit different. But like saying, oh, look, I'm in this store and here's a sweater, it looks crocheted, I'm going to take that and try to replicate it exactly. To me, that's going a little too far. And I know lots of people feel differently about lots of things. I guess my kind of limits to that is, would I be embarrassed to share where my ideas came from? So if my idea came directly from another designer, I would probably feel embarrassed to say, look, I took this exact thing and made it crochet, unless I had talked to that designer and said like, oh my gosh, I'm so inspired by your knitted cowl. I think I could make a similar version in crochet. Is it okay? And they might be like, that would be so fun. Or they might be like, no. But you gotta ask about those kinds of things. Better to ask than to ask for forgiveness. We'll talk about that at my house this weekend. That's another story for a totally another day. So tip number 2, release the pressure. As designers, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, or at least I put a lot of pressure on myself, to keep things moving. We got to get the designs out. We got to go, go, go. And that, I'm actually like a little pot calling the kettle black here when the job my husband was at during the pandemic, like suddenly was like, we need to bring everybody back in the office within like 2 weeks, which my husband had always been in the office, so it didn't affect us. But people were reasonably upset because if you've been having your kids at home and daycare isn't open and you've been working and caring for the kid, what are you doing with the kid now? Anyways, I said, well, like, what's the big push? And he said, there's a lack of creativity. And I said, nothing thwarts creativity and innovation like stress. Which I know there are some people that work really well under stress, and that's fine. But generally speaking, the more stress you have, the less creative, the less space you have to be creative. So if you can release some deadlines that are self-imposed, or even if you're like, I've made an agreement with a yarn company, and we put this deadline in place, but like, I'm just not gonna make it. Going to them and saying like, can we extend this a little bit? I mean, you have to be professional. You can't extend forever, but you know, being able to release some of that pressure may help you have the space to do other things. And sometimes when you back away, that is when you refresh and become most inspired. So on the flip side of that, another thing that you can do is add pressure. And of course, these are all things that like you gotta know yourself and how you work and what's best for you. Now, one of the things that really inspires me, and I mean, again, depends on your personality, but is working with yarn companies. Yeah. No. Why? My tablet died. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh my. But I mean, we went almost all summer without an interruption, which I think was pretty good. Oh, adding pressure. I find a lot of inspiration in boxing myself in a little bit with a yarn company or a blog hop or something that has some parameters around it. So I like giving design proposals to yarn companies that are looking for like a specific themed collection. That's the word I'm looking for. It's fun for me to add that pressure of limiting myself a little bit and almost being pushed in a certain direction. That also goes for like blog hops. I mean, so if you're saying, okay, that's great for you, Sarah, but like I don't know where to start with applying for working with yarn companies, and that also sounds very scary to me. I don't want to do that. Another way to do this is through a blog hop, which you could create yourself, or you could seek out other designers to see if they are doing something. But a lot of times those will be themed, and so having that theme can kind of be inspirational to kind of take the endless possibilities and bring them in a little bit. So sometimes I find that super inspirational, having those boundaries and that pressure, but in kind of a different way. Of course, there's a deadline with that too, so once you commit to that, you got to get it done. If you have questions about finding people to work with, send me a message. Email me. My email's, I'll put it down there somewhere. I'll put it right under this question so you know where to see it, where to send it to. Or if you follow me on Instagram, send me a DM on Instagram. Love to pass that knowledge along. These are not secret things. We're not in competition. So I'm happy to share some of my resources for that, because it's taken me some time to build those up, and others have brought me into things, and I appreciate that. So share the love. All right, my other suggestion is read a book. Read a book. My friends, there are so many great resources out there for designers. Now, I will say there are almost more good resources for knitting designers than there are for crochet designers, and I think that's because when you knit, you've got stitches and they're all about the same size. Now, this is, don't come at me, this is not universal, but generally speaking, you knit, the stitches are a certain size. When you crochet, they're all different. And trying to achieve the same shape with a different set of stitches can be like starting from scratch. Not complete scratch. Maybe instead of like, if you're a knitwear designer and you knit a sweater and then you want to add like color work or a slight texture to it or whatever, you're at 10, you're at the finish line with your design, and maybe changing it up is putting you back to like a 7, let's say. So you still have like, there's still work to be done and it's still different, but it's not like you're starting completely over. I would say with a knit or with a crochet, just with crochet. Let's say you got a design like the shape, the kind of boomerang shape of my shawls. I kind of stumbled across that trying to create a different shape. And I fell in love with it. But each time I design a shawl in that shape, it's not just like doing the same thing every time. That's not how it works. So let's say my first shawl that I designed in that got me to 10, right? I perfected that. The next shawl, I'm going to say I started at maybe a 4, maybe a 5, depending on how similar the stitches are, you know? So anyway, so that's why I think there are more knitting books, because there are more solid answers. That was a long way to get to that. I apologize. And with crochet, it's a little more muddy because depending on the stitches you use changes some of that. However, I do think that crochet designers can read books about knitwear design and take ideas and knowledge from that and then apply it to crochet. So my point is, get yourself a book. I'll have to share these books at some point, but I've read several books that I've really enjoyed. One about sweater construction, one just about wool. I'm reading a book currently about, gosh, I wish I knew any of the, I was ill prepared for this. It's just about this person who has gotten the opportunity to take wool from sheep to yarn, and that's fascinating. I just ordered 2 more books, one about sweater, both of them about sweater design. I have books about spinning. So just like expanding your yarny knowledge by picking up a book, and not even with the expectation of that I'm going to take this and it's going to get me here. But with the expectation of I'm just going to pick this up and expand my knowledge and learn some interesting facts. And maybe one day it'll be the perfect thing that I always needed. So read a book. My next suggestion is to work a finished pattern. We get, you know, elbow deep in the muck of designing patterns, and it's a lot of work. Sometimes more than others, but your brain is doing different things when you're starting from scratch than when you're working a pattern that's already finished. And there's some lovely relaxation and ease in working a pattern that's done. So you can do this in a couple ways. You could rework a pattern that you have already finished. I am trying to keep one of those on my hook at all times. That's my second. Well, actually, if I'm being real honest, I have a couple of them. But my current main one is my second Zoe Shawl. Pretty soon I'm going to have two of them going because I'm going to take that solid blue sky yarn and make the multicolored blue sky shawl that I've already made. So that's a done pattern. I'm just remaking it. Or it can be taking someone else's pattern that is done and finished. So not like testing for somebody else, but taking a completely finished pattern and just working it. I love learning new techniques. I love learning about how other designers word things and piece things together through making their patterns. And I think a lot of times as designers, we don't do that enough. And it's a learning opportunity, and it's relaxing. To not have the pressure of, is this gonna work? Isn't it gonna work? How do I translate this into things that other people can make? Nope. Just take a finished pattern and work it up. Now you can't, like I said before, you can't then like take that pattern and just like, you know, oh, I knit this or I crocheted this cowl from this other designer and I'm going to turn it into a hat. You cannot do that. But you might be like, oh, that was a really cool construction that I could use down the road, or I love the way they said this thing. You know, all those sorts of things that can just grow and make us better. Or maybe you're just like, that was just fun and now I have this cool new thing and I've used up some yarn from my stash, or I got to buy new yarn. You know, whatever. Okay, speaking of yarn, another way you can get your Crojo back is to squish some new yarn, whether that's going to your local yarn shop, which is obviously what I prefer personally, and encourage you, if you can afford, to support your local yarn shops. We want to keep those around and keep them in business and keep them thriving. Or if you don't have that, or you can't afford that, go to, you know, your craft store and squish the yarn there. They're constantly changing over yarns, and sometimes I can see a color that will inspire me. Sometimes I can see a texture that will inspire me. And so that can be a great way to just, you know, it's like petting a puppy, you know, just brings up that serotonin level, squishing the yarn. And then my last suggestion is just to swatch without expectation. Not swatch for a design, but just pick up a stitch dictionary of your favorite flavor and just flip through, be like, oh, that's so pretty, pick up some scrap yarn and just swatch. No expectation. Maybe sometime down the road, the third stitch you swatched in your slump will become some amazing design. Maybe not, but you're building your knowledge without any pressure. So that is my very, very long-winded answer. See why I split it up? I could talk for a whole couple hours just on that. All right, question number 2. We are going to do this, and this is getting long, and I apologize. Question number 2 says, what the heck is ease and how do I decide which size to make in a garment pattern? Whoo, France. This is another pretty in-depth question, but I'm going to try to keep it short for now, and maybe we'll come back to this. If what I say you have like, could you elaborate on, or I have further questions about this, let me know. But I prefer you fill out the form, really. But you can comment, I guess, as well. So, ease is just the comparison of your physical body's measurements to the size of the garment. So there can be positive ease. So let's just say, I'm going to keep these numbers simple because I don't like math. Let's say you have a 40-inch bust. Question's just getting comfy over there. Oh, big sigh. Positive ease would be any garment that is more than 40 inches at the bust. So 41 inches of a garment circumference would be 1 inch of positive ease. 50-inch finished garment measurement would be, I feel like this is awkward. Sorry. Would be a 10-inch positive ease. You can have 0 positive ease. So if your measurement was 40 and the garment was 40, that's 0 inches of positive ease. You can also have negative ease, which just means that the finished garment is smaller than your actual measurements. So you can imagine how those things are going to fit. Things that are 0 positive ease are going to be fitted. Things that are positive ease are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger on you. Things that are negative ease are going to get tighter and tighter and tighter. Negative ease, ease is very much a personal preference. You do need to keep in mind that that the designer had certain intentions, and so the more you sway from the designer's intentions, the more you're going to affect the general feel and style. However, I'm going to put a picture up here of a sweater called the ranunculus sweater. It's an incredibly popular pattern, and you're going to see that the designer, I'd have to look at the pattern again, but I think the designer designed it for 10 inches of positive ease, which on her little tiny stick model looks just fine. But surprise, I'm not a little stick. So I changed it to be 0 positive ease, like spot on. This is me in my 0 inches of ease. You can see huge difference in the way the sweater fits. That varying that much is a gamble, and it was very much a gamble that I feel really lucky worked out. But that's the difference. I'm pretty sure I have a video on ease. I'll link it below if I do, because there's much more to go in depth, but that's what ease is. You need to look at, so when you're deciding on what size to pick, please, for the love of love, do not say to yourself, I am a large. I always wear a large. I'm just going to pick the large, for so many reasons. Different designers use different standard measurements. And so what is a large at Target or wherever you buy your clothes, that not the same standard as a designer is using. It could end up being a lot bigger. It could end up being a lot smaller. It is so, so important that you look at your measurements and current measurements. Don't go out there and measure yourself when you're feeling like the most svelte version of yourself and then try to make a sweater when you're feeling poofy. It's just not going to fit and you're not going to be happy with it. So you got to be honest with yourself. So actual measurements, I would measure yourself every time My mom was a tailor, and she would measure me every time before she would make me something new. You got to measure yourself and then compare your measurement to the finished measurements of the garment, and then choose your size based on how much ease you want. So if you want 10 inches of positive ease, you may normally wear a size small, and you may choose to work a size large to get yourself that positive ease. Now, there's some mucking around with that, because a large is not only going to grow in width, but it will also grow in length some. So you got to be, but that's the great thing about making our own garments, right? You can adjust those things. So there you go. Measure yourself. Ease is just the difference between your measurements and the final measurements of your garment. Can be positive, can be no ease, can be negative ease. And then you just need to compare your own measurements to the measurements in the pattern to pick a size that gives you the amount of ease that you want. And don't go too hog wild in the difference between I guess I shouldn't say that. If you want to, go crazy. Go crazy. Why not, right? We could always frog it back. But the bigger the difference in ease intended by the designer and what you want, the bigger risk you're taking. So there you go. All right. I have surely babbled on for long enough today, probably more than I should. Thank you for sticking with me. You guys are truly the best. I hope you have a marvelous Wednesday. Tell me in the comments below what you're working on. I hope to be not too inspired, because I'm working on several things. I've been craving a knitting project. I pulled out yarn last night to start something new on my needles. I do not need to do that. So, do something nice for yourself today. Like, subscribe, share with a friend to do something nice for me today. Have a marvelous day. And happy crafting.